A warm welcome to Jan and Babs and Andy. We've come together to have a chat about the courses provided by OLT, Online Training for Counsellors. I know all three of you have completed courses with OLT and are very enthusiastic about those experiences. But before I ask you about the experience of doing OLT courses, maybe I could ask you why you chose to do some training in online counselling.
Hi, I'm Jan. Initially, really, my interest came from when I met Anne. She was my supervisor, and she mentioned about working online and how initially she never thought it would ever work. And then she was introduced to it, and her passion for it really affected me a bit. And I thought, actually, that'd be great, because I work with young people. So I did the certificate in online counselling, loved it, and then have just done the diploma in online supervision and love that too. So it's, and I love working online. But yeah, so that's why really it was Anne that got me into it initially. Yeah. And that's, it's a great way of working.
Sounds like her passion was really contagious, Jan.
Yes. Yes.
And you've picked that up too. I mean, that you've really enjoyed the courses, and yes, you've picked up that passion.
Yeah, if it's right for you, if working online is right for you, then that's great. It's really good.
Thank you, Jan.
Hi, I'm Babs. I did the General Certificate in Online Counselling in 2011, and then I've just finished in December last year, 2012, the Diploma in Online Counselling. Why did I come to be interested in it? Because I've always had an interest in computers. I had a computer way back from the old BBC computers. As soon as I started doing my counselling course, my diploma, face-to-face diploma, I was always thinking, could this be done online? And did lots of research, and it was something that I had in my mind right from the beginning. So very interested in it, in computing generally.
So that's rolling back the years back to the BBC computers. yes. So even
cassette tapes and all sorts of funny noises and things.
How things have moved on when we think about what we're able to do here in terms of all chatting together. And but it sounds like through your diploma training, Babs, it kind of caught your interest. Could you do it online? Would this be a possibility?
Yes. So it's always been there, interest in computing. I'm a geek, I think.
Yes, I think we all are, aren't we, here, sitting this afternoon on Skype, absolutely. Thank you, Babs.
Okay, well, hi, I'm Andy. What made me decide to do the course? Well, I work at Winchester University as a student counsellor, and the university wanted to bring in an online counselling for their students. So I volunteered. It was something that I think I'd been interested in beforehand. I'm definitely not a geek. I'm not very technologically friendly, to be honest. So it was going to be a very new and different experience. But it was something I think that attracted me to working online, especially with young people. And I think the opportunities that it gives to talk to anyone anywhere in the world, really. And I think my thought processes were very much, I'd like to try that. I'd like to see how it is, and whether I could work in that environment. So I looked at a couple of courses, but it's funny what you said about Anne. I found her very inspiring. I sent an email off, and her reply was very much, encouraging and supportive, and it set the tone really for, making me think, yes, I'd like to do the course. So yeah, a bit of everything really in there, but I'm really pleased I did the course, thoroughly enjoyed it. It was a great experience, and, I'm glad that I made that step really.
Sounds like you've had a great time, Andy.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
Definitely.
Why is the training so central or so important to being online? What do you think?
I think for me, I think it is, quite a dangerous thing to be able to get online and to counsel someone without any experience or any sort of knowledge, and I think it really makes you realise that the impact of words and how you say things and what it means. And I think for me that was a huge sort of realisation of just how important words are and the potential impact. So to think of people doing it without any experience of a course is be hugely concerning, really, because you could make so many mistakes and put people at risk, really.
Yeah, I agree with that. I was thinking along the lines of legal and ethical implications, and the number of people that use unencrypted emails, for example, and they just don't realise the dangers of what they're doing.
Yeah, so maybe some of the technical stuff, Babs, is that what you're thinking about, where encryption and making sure things are really safe, and sounds really important.
And also, it's I work mainly in the field of young people, and it's setting boundaries as well in any counselling situation. But online, boundaries are so important, and that's with any age group. I think with young people, it's more so because they think they could be even more unboundaried. But setting those boundaries from the very beginning, so that initial agreement that you have with the person that you're going to work with is vital. It's that first start is so important as well, and in with that come the ethical and legal issues as well, because I think so many of us these days, our computer is our friend. We're very relaxed with our computer, which is great, and that's why online counselling works so effectively, but it means it can cause inherent problems. It's not our friend, really. We have to be so careful, and we have to almost, I think, hold and teach our clients along the way how to be boundaried online.
Yeah, so it sounds like in order to be able to set good boundaries for our clients, we need to know where our boundaries are. We need to have thought about that quite a lot first.
Yeah.
So what kind of boundaries are you thinking about? What I mean, it's an easy word to say, but what it's different, I suppose, when I'm having a client into my office. How does that work with my computer?
I think that's one of the things that these courses teach you is about contract making and the importance of setting out a contract so the client knows what to expect from you. Things, for example, like social media, and you wouldn't be prepared to be their friend on Facebook, all that kind of stuff you would lay out in your contract.
That would make so much sense, Babs, just because it's such easy contact. If someone has an email address, they might find you on Facebook and be able to make contact. What do we do in that moment?
Yeah. I've reset it, and I constantly check all my privacy settings on Facebook and things, and any photographs before they actually go up, I've made it so that I can say yes or no to them if I'm tagged. It's just such a wide open world there. So I've completely privatised all my Facebook settings where maybe I wouldn't have thought to before.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, I think one of the boundaries for me, I mean, I've just started my first client work, and it's a fascinating experience, but I think the sort of boundaries around how much people write and how much freedom you have to express yourself online, you do have to sort of set the limitations a little bit, and to try and give yourself a boundary to what you're doing as well, in that if you have a session where you're responding to an email, it can be very easy to spend a long time on that, and to try and keep a boundary around your work as well, I think is really important. And again, I think certainly the course helped me to understand that, and to understand exactly what my boundaries are as well as the client's. So it was a very good overall sort of preparation, really.
Yeah, so there's maybe something about we don't know what we don't know. We just...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also, I think the training helped me, both courses, to realise what my own boundaries, what I was capable of working with online. Mental health issues and things like that could come into an agreement as to what you can or cannot work with. Assessment as well. How do you make an assessment online? But you can, but that comes into the training. There's so much information there. For instance, I work a lot with self-harm online, but lots of practitioners wouldn't want to work with that online, and that's absolutely fair enough. So it's knowing where you draw your own line and what you're capable of working with online. But you have to experience that on the course. I think on the training, you're given the experience to work with emails that might be sent to you like that. And we do a weekly task in the diploma, and in the certificate you do as well, don't you? And that is just and you see other people's responses as well. There's no right nor wrong. You post your response, and then everybody else in the group posts theirs as well. They're all very different, but they're all very similar. So you learn from other people's too. It's invaluable. It really is.
Yeah, I think for me that experiential learning was really important, and fundamental to the course. Really, it was very clever the way, as I say, as an inexperienced counsellor, I learnt an awful lot from other people who brought their own stuff, but it was clever the way it gave you the confidence as well to find your voice online.
Yes.
And
yes.
To find your gradual evolving online presence, which it was very clever the way it gradually came out throughout the course, and you built relationships, and but you also, I felt you felt like what it may feel to be a client at times.
Yes.
You could sort of feel the vulnerability of sharing something personal about yourself, and how it felt to write that down and others to read it. So it was, from that perspective, it was great, because it really made you think about what you wrote and how that would impact and how it would feel, for someone else to read that. So, but it was clever how that gradually evolved through the course, really.
Nothing scary too quickly. Start off gentle, and then you get into the more intricate things. Yeah.
So they ease you into the experience, it sounds like, and it sounds like it's not just learning about technical things or procedures. It's a self-reflective experience too, where you're thinking about what you can manage, what you would want to work with.
Yeah. Yeah,
definitely. I think, we kept a learning journal through the course, which was really useful actually to sort of consider, what new awareness you had or experiences and relationships, and just the running of the course really. And it was a really useful way of reflecting back really on what you were doing, and a lot came out of that for me personally. I found it a very good tool to sit down at the end of the week and to just look back at what I'd done really, or what I'd done as part of the course with other people. So yes, it was a really good reflective course.
And with the diploma, I think with online supervision, the relational aspect of it is very important. And it actually is a group of people, even though we gelled from the beginning really, really well. And I think that was down to Anne as a tutor. I think she enabled that within us all. But it wasn't really till at least halfway through the course or towards the end where we were able to share our vulnerable sort of sides to sort of our way of working, which is reflected, parallels the way that works with the supervisee online. It takes that bit longer. I think sometimes clients online can be very disinhibited and give you stuff straight off. I think working in the supervisory mode, the relationship takes a bit longer to build, which is absolutely fair. It makes sense. And the course and the experiential learning absolutely parallel that. And I can look back now and I can just see it. And as you say, look at the journals, and I can see what I've written in the journals, and it's amazing, really. It's like magic. It's so strange that you're doing all of this online, and all these relationships and the way they build, and really just through the power of words. It's amazing.
Yeah.
I just finished the diploma back in, not the supervision one, the online counselling diploma back in December. And I think the client work, actually having real clients, was fantastic, and also the supervision online as a group and individual supervision. It just made it all a very experiential learning.
I mean, that sounds great, because I think lots of people might worry about doing a course online, that it's going to feel really impersonal, but that's not the sense that I'm getting from the three of you. Not by a long shot, yeah. Babs, sorry?
Keep interrupting. I think one of the things I really enjoyed were the group meetings where we all met together in Skype, and it's amazing how well we all got to know each other. And there's a multicultural feeling, because one of the tutors came from the Netherlands, and we had another student who was living in Austria, and we were from all over the place, and it was just so lovely. It was really nice, and we really felt like good friends by the end of it.
Yes.
Working online can be a very lonely experience. And to that extent, then, as well, you really do have to look after yourself as a practitioner. And I think that was one of the really important things I learnt from the course. And we had a couple of reading weeks, and it felt very strange not to have the group there, which made me realise the importance of the group. Because I was still feeling vulnerable, I still didn't feel very confident in what I was doing, and having the group there and Anne there in the meeting, it just felt very strange not having them there. So it was obviously really important to me.
Yeah, and I think the richness and diversity of the people on the course was a major thing, really, that made it such an enjoyable experience. Like Babs was saying, we had a guy from Australia, so it meant that we had to meet at certain times. It made us think about cultural differences and working in different ways and taking that into account. And it was a really good experience from that perspective, really, the diversity of it.
So how was that working? Were you all on video, or was it voice or text? What were the kind of platforms that you used to communicate?
Yeah, we did. Sorry, go on, Babs.
We all used just text it for the group. However, our end of course party was held in Second Life, and that was an experience.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Yeah, very funny. Not sure what's working there. Very interesting.
Yes.
I've tried it. I keep flying. I can't walk. I can't do Second Life.
So that was a whole other kind of experience, I guess.
Yeah.
It sounds like the course spent a lot of time thinking about text-based communication online. Am I right about that? And the kind of the nuances and maybe some of the pitfalls to look out for when working just with text?
Yeah. And I think we spent a bit of time doing video because we'd supervised each other as well. So sometimes we did video, but it is the text really that you need to concentrate on, because that's where you can get the problems, the misunderstandings, so many things. Whereas on video, you can, it's in real time as well, so you can rescue the situation. But text-based, especially if it's maybe asynchronous, then that has its own problems too. At least if it's in real time, you can say, actually, did I get you right there? Did you mean this? Whereas if you got an email and you're sending it off, and I think it was the same with the certificate, the counselling certificate and the diploma, is that rule: do not send it straight away. Leave it for a bit, even if it's to go and make a cup of coffee and come back and read it, then send it. And I have never not made a change. It might be something. Maybe it's the perfectionist in me, so it might be a small change. But sometimes I've come back and I've thought, I've reread it and it reads differently. and that then could be what that client reads on the other end of the computer. And you've left it with them. They're just there to read it through as many times as they want. It has to be right. It really does. So that was the golden rule, was not to send it straight away. So important.
Yeah, I definitely do that as well. And, I learned that on the course that, because we did practice with a client, and we worked with someone on the course, and did our practicing of doing sessions, and a lot came from that. It was a really useful learning environment again. You had a number of sessions, and it worked very well, where you gradually built up your relationship and then worked through the issues that your client was bringing. So but it became quite a real experience, actually. And the power, as I said, the power of words was, it made you think so much and so carefully about what you wrote and how you wrote it and how it was going to be perceived, really. So, very, very much so agree with that. The just leave it for a little bit and then send it. So, definitely. Good advice.
Sounds really important. Yeah. I think that's when we're working like this over video, it's much more like face-to-face, but there's so much text-based contact, even with face-to-face clients, in terms of appointments or people making contact, so that even without having a full practice online, it's worth having those spaces to think about. If I'm communicating with my clients in a non-face-to-face way, what does that mean? What do I have to be thinking about?
Yeah. And also it is that, why do people choose that medium? Why do people choose counselling online? I'm thinking of counselling really rather than supervision. But it is about the words, but it is about the computer as well, and the power of the computer. So I think some people they're talking to their computer rather than a counsellor. They're talking to someone they don't know their face. A Joe might be a male or a female. So it's that relationship with you as well. Where does the computer come into that too?
I was going to say that as a PC and Gestalt counsellor, it was quite important for me to sort of see how the course would allow me to sort of understand building a relationship online, and the difference between doing it face to face and with all the visual cues, and I think it just helped me to realise that it was possible, and that you can build relationships, and you can by the use of your words and language and building the core conditions and working with them, you can build a really good relationship, a good working relationship. But that for me I was unsure about that before I started the course. But the course really helped. It evolved very much so through the course, and I felt very comfortable with it as an environment where you could create and build a good working relationship, and a therapeutic relationship as well. So again, that was a real plus part of the course, really.
Yeah, I've finished my training now, and I can say that I feel comfortable working in the way that I've been taught. I certainly wouldn't have been at the beginning, but I think, like to feel completely confident about something. Actually, probably that's not such a good thing anyway. But I definitely feel very comfortable working in the way that I do now because of the training that I've got behind me. I feel that's a really good outcome, actually.
Yeah, that sounds like a great recommendation for the course, to have that feeling of solidity in your work.
Yeah,
definitely.
An added dimension to the diploma is that we also had marketing modules, so that if you want to build an online practice, there was quite a few of our weeks that we just concentrated on how to market an online business, which was very helpful.
Yeah, well, it's such an easy thing to miss out, I guess, in counselling training, isn't it? But it's so important in terms of building a practice.
One of the things that I found really useful, as I said, I was actually a client for Babs, who was doing her diploma course, and that opportunity to actually be a client and see how that feels, I found really valuable before I did my course. So, it really made, it was a good opportunity to be able to try that and to sort of experience how it is. So, and it was, I don't know how Babs found it, but, I guess that's a real sort of experience for Babs on her diploma course. So, but I found it useful being the client and having to think in that way. It really prepared me well for the general course, basically, the general certificate.
The client work was a very important part of the diploma. Very, very helpful. And of course, Andy was a perfect client.
I'm sure he was.
Very needy, yeah.
Yes. But having that practical experience of working.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very useful.
Yeah, on the supervisory diploma, we had the chance to be the supervisee as well as the supervisor, and so again, to the extent that it's exactly the same, to be in the other shoes was very, very useful. To be feeling vulnerable.
You've just reminded me that that was also a part of the diploma. Was the requirement is that you do 10 hours of personal therapy yourself online, and that was very useful to experiencing being a client online.
So to have that very real experience of vulnerability in
Yes.
that kind of work. Yeah.
And really having to think about yourself and how you work, and supervision could be a strange thing. We can choose what to take to supervision. There aren't any real rules. I suppose we can choose when we have it, how we have it. But really, it's to have it regularly was really, really useful. Very, very useful. Because really, I do need it regularly. But to know that I had to have it and provide a certain amount of hours of being a supervisee was very useful. And really added to the whole learning as well.
Yeah, so it's not just theoretical, the learning, it's very practical too.
Yes. That's more important, actually, I think. The theory is all very useful, but I'm not very good at retaining theory. Very, very useful, but actually it helps you with the experience then and makes sense of the experiential learning.
Yeah, when you live through something, you tend to remember it, I guess.
Yeah, it really firms it up.
Thank you. Is there one thing that you'd want to say to someone if they were thinking about doing the course or thinking about doing some training about working online? What might you say to them, do you think?
I would say give it a go. If you're unsure or if you're a little bit uncertain, give it a go. The course is very well set up and does prepare you very well for the experience of working online. And I suppose I was a little bit nervous about it, a little bit unsure of how it would be, but actually, I found the whole experience to be such a rich and rewarding experience, really, for me. So, and it made me want to become an online counsellor and made me think, yes, I can do this, and it is a good environment to work in.
Well, thanks, Andy. Yes, because I guess some people might be thinking, I'm not sure if it's for me, or can this really work, building a relationship only with words? But absolutely,
and I was one of those people. I was unsure about it, but actually, the more I worked with it, the more it felt comfortable, as Jan said, and seemed to make sense and seemed to, fit into a way of counselling, really.
Thank you, Andy. I appreciate that.
That's okay.
I think for me, it's, as you said earlier, it's about the things that you don't know. There's so many things like that covered on the courses about working online that now I feel confident in working online, whereas before I was always unsure because I didn't know if there was things I didn't know. That makes sense.
Yes.
Yeah, so to feel confident that you have a sense of what's needed, to know that you're doing a good job, to investigate all those areas sounds really important, Babs.
Yeah.
And it's a lovely learning environment. I mean, Anne as a tutor is absolutely wonderful. So even though there's a lot to learn, you know, it's busy, but obviously you can work in the evenings and things, and that's the great thing about it. But she makes it easy somehow, and it feels like she's always there just in case. Always felt that if I was concerned about something or confused, I could email her, and that actually I could ask those stupid questions as well. And it wasn't a problem. It was never a problem. So I didn't feel that I had to pretend to be anything that I wasn't. I could ask those questions, and that was fine. It's, you know, Anne encourages it. It's a very good, rich learning environment.
I think that's so important when we're students, isn't it, to be able to ask the questions that feel really daft, but they're so important to us in that moment. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
yes.
and I think also that the fact that you can't see your fellow students, you know, you never see them face to face, so you know your relationship with them is built through words and contact online, and so that the whole basis is all about being online. And yeah, it takes a little while to get used to that, but once you have it, and you know, as I say, the relationships you can build, you know, it's a really good feeling. And yeah.
That sounds great, Andy. Yeah, to be able to build the relationships like that, and in what can feel like a very different environment, and one that we're not sure of.
Yeah, and I sort of reflect back on my face-to-face courses where, you know, my diploma course and things like that, where you have friends on a course, and you know, you build sort of special relationships with some people, and that was the same really. You know, you get closer to some people than others, but you are still able to sort of, you know, make a good lasting relationship. And you know, I still stay in touch with people from the course now, and we talk about things that we're doing and the way we're working. So it's that sort of lasted as well, really, which is a nice thing to carry from the course.
Yeah, so a good place to meet other practitioners and to build those relationships that are so important to our work and life as therapists.
Yeah, and I think especially as an online counsellor, because you don't have the contact, so the contacts you make on the course actually are really important, because you know, we don't have the face-to-face meetings, so it is really nice to have someone you can talk to and just chat through, and they know, you know, perhaps what you're talking about and experiencing, because they've experienced it as well. So I think it is, you know, vitally important, really, because I guess it can be a lonely place being an online counsellor.
Yeah.
Looks like you really agree with that, Jan. Yeah.
Oh yes. It's different, isn't it? But working online can be a very lonely place. So looking after yourself is even more important, and even that's taught on the course, or it's you reflect about it. It is really important. Looking after yourself as a practitioner anyway is important, but when you've got people around you, or you can walk out into another atmosphere, when you're working from home, there's a lot else to consider. I work from home. I don't know about everybody else, but I do, and there are considerations there as well.
Yeah, so lots to think about, and important to stay connected, especially when you're in an environment where colleagues are not in the next room. They may be in another country or another continent now. Well, thank you so much for taking some time out to talk about your experiences of training with OLT. And the courses that you've done, what it's been like. It sounds like you've had a really great experience, and that you feel very grounded for the work that you're involved in now. So, yeah, a great recommendation for these courses. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.